Hi everyone, it's Ren here. Welcome to my friend's room today. And this is actually the third video in a row that I record while my friend is away, so I have a bit of time to talk to you. So hopefully I won't be too tired. Today I want to talk to you about the question whether INFJs are creatures of habit, and is there a necessary disconnect between liking routine, liking habits, liking repetition in some shape or form, and being an end user, as sometimes we read on the internet. Before I move on, just remember that I've written the book on the INFJ, The Ecstatic Soul. It's 2 years old. You can check the reviews at the Amazon links below and consider getting a copy if you haven't got one. It's got very nice reviews. It's a very in-depth investigation of the type. And consider getting it. There'll be a sequel next year, hopefully. So fingers crossed. There's also The Infinite Castle, which is my novel that I released last year. You can get your hands on it. Supports the channel. If you like fiction that's a bit modernist, a bit surrealist, a bit existentialist, Camus, Kafka, Dostoevsky, Murakami would be references, and rumor has it the main character's an INFJ, so, get your hands on the copy. There's been more purchases recently, so hopefully some word of mouth or something like that. It makes me very hopeful, so consider getting it. You can also support my Patreon page at the link below. So first link, massively supports the channel, anything from €3 a month. Thank you so much to my supporters. Okay, so what's interesting is that in a lot of the accessible literature on the internet, we often hear that it is SI users, people who are heavy and SI, who like to have their processes, who like to have their routines, who like to have their repetitions across the day. And that, N is more about openness to experience. It's more about exploration. It's more about novelty. It's more about newness. It's more about stimulation and about imagination and things like that. And I just think that we can probably break this kind of logic, and we can probably break these kinds of categories if we look a little bit further into what we are made of as INFJs or as people of other types, in terms of our function stack, in terms of our particular experiential phenomenology, in terms of how we operate in the world, and come to the conclusion that the reality might not be exactly what we think. Because I think, certainly based on my experience and based on the experience of other INFJs I know, we are actually very much creatures of habit. And we're creatures of habit in the sense that I think it has a lot to do with the NI function. If you're an NE lead, or if you're PE lead, in general, SE lead or any lead, to some extent, insofar as you're a human being, you're also going to be kind of a creature of habit, because habit is inserted into our DNA. We can't help but be creatures of habit to an extent. That provides an anchor in our lives, and we can't really operate completely without it. But certainly, like an SE dominant or an NE dominant is going to be less into creating systems of repetition, repetitious patterns and habits. Because, they function by being stimulated. They function by being fed new information all the time. Like what they do with that information, is another whole other question. But that's to a large extent how they operate. Whereas in the case of INFJs, in the case of INTJs, but also in the case of SI dominance, there is a sense in which PI is a slower function. It aggregates inner perceptions, inner content, and then slowly unfolds its view of what the situation right now, what's the situation going to be like in a week, in 2 weeks, works with symbols. It takes a lot of time to process these things. And if there's something I've learned about INFJs in particular, since that's my type, is that INFJs need time. And in order to free up time, repetitious patterns, patterns that you can expect, patterns that are kind of on the horizon and come towards you, and you know what to expect, you know how to organize your time, so you can actually divide up the time and have lots of space for engaging in this NI processing, which is a space that would be much more difficult to access if you were constantly in this anarchic mode of accessing, activating openness to new experiences all the time. So in fact, you can be open to experience, but by being open to new experiences that are inner through introverted intuition. What is outer, what is in the outside world, might actually be much more routine and structured. It's routine and structured. It doesn't have to have the TE type external structure visible everywhere, but it's structured insofar as how you operate is. And you do that precisely so that when you're in your mind, then you can explore as you see fit and to your heart's content. So there's a lot of openness to experience that happens in there, but it doesn't necessarily show in the outside world. which is also why often INFJs look a bit conventional. They have conventional jobs a lot of the time, not necessarily all the time. Dress conventional. They don't have crazy lifestyles, you know. They like routine. We are creatures of routine. And in this respect, we might have more in common with ISFJs and ISTJs than we have in common with, say, ENFPs or INFPs or INTPs and ENTPs, you know. And we need that, and I think INTJs are quite similar, because otherwise NI would not have enough space, enough room to maneuver and deliver its verdicts. So we need to have that external sense of predictability and repetition and routines. Not 100%, but you know, 80%, 85%, so that internally then we can explore. Internally then we can come to our own conclusions. We need time. Basically, INFJs are creatures of habit, and they are creatures that need time to process things. This is, I think, an inevitability. It's also why they need to be by themselves, because when they are surrounded by other people, because other people make demands on us, whether we like it or not, via the FE function, we don't have the opportunity to carve up some time for ourselves. It's not just some time so that we can rest and be like, oh, I'm no longer with other people, I can rest. It's also that we can come to the thoughts that are developing through our NI function. The processing takes time, and the processing sometimes takes being away from others. And predictable patterns, knowing when you're going to have your free time, knowing, you know, or your time alone, knowing when you're going to be able to be by yourself and process things, is an essential ingredient in this whole formula. So I think we are creatures of habits a lot more than we think, and that habit and repetition and predictability has nothing to do with N versus S, but probably more to do with PI versus PE. But let me know in the comments what you think, guys. I am really curious what you think. I'll see you in the next video, and don't forget you can support me on Patreon. Bye-bye.